Hey, everybody, welcome back to Red Road Paranormal. I am your co host, Christina Bloom. I'm a professional psychic, medium, speaker, author. Apparently, I'm a podcaster too now. So, I got a long list of stuff I do. And I am also Native American from the Alaskan area. And I'm currently not tribally affiliated. And I am now going to turn it over to my co host, Resnick.
Good evening, everyone. Resnick here. I'm a member of the Cryptids Anomaly in the Paranormal Society out of Wisconsin. I'm also a Native American enrolled member of the Stockbridge Muncie Tribe, Band of Mohicans. And today I'd like to introduce you to Mr. and Mrs. Scroggins. Take it away, guys. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, so I'm Michael Scroggins. I'm an engineer by profession. I've got degrees in anything from mechanical, electrical, and everything within that, and then plus PhDs in theology, metaphysics, genetic anthropology, and cosmology. Everything was to build on these things. And I am Native American. My great grandmother was Sioux, and my great grandfather was Cherokee. Sioux had to marry outside their tribe because they were warring. So that's why I had a great grandmother that was a medicine woman. She took me at 3 years old and said, "You're going to learn." So I have a good background, but when I lost her, I kind of lost touch with the Native American aspect. And I'll let Carla tell you a little bit about her.
Awesome.
My name is Carla. Unfortunately for everybody, I'm just European. Background that I'm aware of. I'm retired Navy. I served in Navy 20 years. That's how Mike and I met, was in Memphis when I was stationed there the first time. And I kidnapped him and took him to Maine, and he's regretted that ever since.
Yeah, he looks like he regrets it. Really, he does.
So, I've been retired a little while. I'm an Air Force brat, and we also have a son-in-law that's in the Army. So we're a military family from a way back.
Nice, nice. First, I'd like to say thank you for your service.
Oh, I love it. I'd do it all over again if I could.
I have to say, I miss it because there's a camaraderie. You're in a family when you're in the military. So that doesn't happen anymore, especially after COVID and things. People just are not, they're not as outgoing or don't seem as outgoing.
Right. More fear.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. More fear in general of each other, I guess.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were telling me about a book that you wrote called The God Algorithm. Can you tell us about that? Because that sounded fascinating.
Yes. When Carla and I got married, actually right before, we were sitting at a table similar to what we're doing right now. We're eating. And I told her, I said, I have a real heavy background in electronics and, any kind of sounds, frequencies and things like that. And I said, I could probably work with one of these ghost hunters, because this was just happening. This is about 94, or at the end of 94, starting at the 95. And I said, I think I'd be good at that because I'm skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
But if I take something that I know is recording and can do these things, I can say, hey, here's what this is. Here's how you see it. Here's how you do it. My background's been really heavy in math, and never thought anything else about it. And then if you forward all the way through Maine, now in Maine, we studied with martial artists. I'm a Tai Chi master. We studied with the Dalai Lama's doctor, things like that, to learn healing arts and things that I wouldn't have done. But when we got to DC, we fell in with some friends and we started Spectral Effect, and we started ghost hunting. And one night I told Carla, oh my gosh, remember back in 94 when I said this? She said, yeah. I said, we're doing it. So it came to be. And in the book, I took my background from a child up. I was always inquisitive and into everything. And so when my great grandmother was teaching me the healing arts as a medicine person and things like that, I watched her work on a lady, and she would reach across, and you guys would know, you reach across and you grab a feather, and you take the feather and you go across the body to onto the feet, come back, you put it down, and you reach for the sage, and you reach for each of the different objects around the person. when she got through and the lady left, she said, what did you think? And I said, that's great, but why did you use the props? She said, what? I said, you're moving energy. I've always seen auras and energy. You kind of,
Mm-hmm.
when people say you don't see that, yes, I do. And I said, if you lay down, I can do what you did, but I don't need that. So she did, and I did the same thing right around her and did everything. She said, okay. She said, I'm going to tell you something. The things that you saw me use are props, but they'll go get these things and start to do those same movements to themselves, learning how to heal themselves. She said, if they get attached to you, they'll always come to you. You don't want that. You want them to actually be able to heal themselves. Made sense. And then when we got into the healing arts and working with the Dalai Lama's doctor, I was watching him and said, this is exactly the things I learned as a child, as a medicine man. He said, energy is no different. It's the same. So
Yep.
learning path. And so I just kind of wrote my book like a resume from childhood all the way up to 67 years old. And here we are. And here's how we calculate it. People don't realize that you're traveling through the universe at a 15-degree arc at 19.2 miles per second. So the speed of sound is 750 miles an hour. That means we're going 94 times the speed of sound. So when we hear these echoes of voices, that we get these little snippets from the other side, or really a phase just beyond us, you'll hear it's almost like a Doppler, and you hear whoa, whoa. And I thought, oh my gosh. So then I equated to the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second, 6,840 times. In fact, we're going slower than that. So there's these intersects that we're picking up. We pick these little blips up, and I told Carla, I said, only now, this is recently. Now I'm putting all this stuff together, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's around us all the time. We don't see, but maybe 124 frames a second.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, if I put this on a high-speed camera, you'll see the lights flashing all around you and things you don't see. So it's really not the spirit world that's out of tune. It's us.
Oh, I totally agree.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
And if we expect them to, it's like they're so far ahead of us. And I'm going to say, yes, there are spirits. I mean, even religiously and things, all of these are talked about, but yet we think we are it. And in actuality, if we were still doing the healing arts from 10,000 years ago, we would be 10,000 years ahead. Right now, we're behind where people were thousands of years ago, because they could heal with the power of moving the energy, seeing the energy and doing it. And instead of, oh my gosh, you're crazy, you don't see energy. Okay, well, maybe not, but it works.
I'm right there with you because I can see the energies too. And, I'm a Reiki master, and I've done some shamanic training and some medicine training, and Native American medicine training, not allopathic medicine training. I should be clear on that. And so I'm right there with you. Yeah, I can see the energy moving. I can see right where somebody has, right where there's an injury or an illness, I can see it because the energy's not moving.
Yeah, and the same thing when me being skeptical, but as I started opening back up, because you get tired of people telling you as a child, well, this isn't true. And I mean, I had people I would hear things after my great grandmother died. She didn't get to the point of, you're going to have these visitors, they're going to come and talk to you. Okay, it scared the heck out of me as a child. And I'd tell my mom and dad, no, you're just dreaming. It's like, no, I had nobody to go to. So I kind of turned it off, like, okay, in spirit world does not force itself on you. It contacts you when you're ready, but it will reach out to you. And so it took me many, many years to realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm really hearing this. Still not. Carla's getting to the point now. The other night, she heard, was it get down? She thought I was telling one of the cats to get down. I wasn't in here.
Stop it.
Stop it. Yes, stop it. The cats, I throw energy, and I know, Christina, you take the energy ball and you go like that, and the cat goes, wow, what's that? And I'm gone, So we have abilities that we don't really realize. And yet we haven't even scratched the surface of this phase I think there's so much to learn, and it's not that veil that's between us. They were said there's a veil between them and us. No, we're the veil between them. There's no veil for them. We
I
have the block.
agree.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
completely agree.
we're abroad in this world, we get given the veil of forgetfulness. So therefore, we don't know how to tune in right away. And as we get older, we learn to raise our vibrations to their level or close to their level. So therefore, we can interact with them.
And the cool part is, as you get closer to that, in the book and the teachings I do, I work with people, and it's catching the breath of the universe and the heartbeat. Every individual, well, everything in this world has its own energy level. No two thing, because it's impossible. You can't have two things in the same place at the same time. I don't care how close they are. But my heart rate is between 48 and maybe 56. So my heart rate and my breathing rate, I find the wave of the universe. And when you fall into that, you start hearing these clarity things. It's not, you hear voices telling you, hey, oh, this is right. Yeah, you're doing this and all that. As long as you stay in that little wave in the now, when people say, well, the now's already gone. No. Now is not time related.
Right.
And that's what I was trying to teach people in the book. Look, we're out of phase. We're out of sync. It's not the world. It's not nature. Nature knows how to do everything. It's like being a quantum physicist. I watch people and they're trying to force nature to do something. Nature does it instantaneously, and it does by a magnetic flux and frequency level at a specific speed and time. Okay. And you tell people, well, we weren't taught that in school. Nature doesn't care at all about what you're taught in school. It does the spirit world.
Yep.
But it doesn't apply.
There's a lot we weren't taught in school.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah. And there's a lot we were taught that was really not necessary. So, yeah.
People still think that the speed of, we travel 69,120 miles in an hour, kind of like a sweeping arc away from the force that created the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to send out signals. 69,000. Do you realize how far off we are? And someone's like, okay, we're going to send a signal back where we got this from. Well, where in the world was that? Because you're not there anymore.
Right.
Right.
Like, yeah, we're going to send you a signal. It's like bird crumbs, and but I'm going to just keep going out there. If we understand where we are, where we were, where we are, then we can predict where we're going. And in doing that, I think our communication levels will change. I've got devices that I've created that worked on the human neural synapses to refire the stem cells in the nerve endings. And it just made so much sense to me in Tai Chi. Our master, it was Fred Villari's system, but John Fritz was the head of the Jupiter Medical Center. I said, all this stuff that we're doing, I can do this with a device. And I said, but I can create these signals that you want to do. We started doing these things, and it works with the people. If somebody can breathe, it just means that their cord has shifted. Well, the body can reshift and refire neural systems. And so these things I've done it's just 22, 23, well, no goodness, 26 years ago when I started this. And I started recognizing that all the things that I had learned as a child, I was putting into effect, but I had the background. I didn't give up when somebody says you can't do this, because when somebody tells me you can't, that's the very thing I'm going to head to, because that means that you're afraid of it. And, I'm going to do this.
Yeah. We are cut from the same cloth, Mike.
I agree.
And that's why I think that people go out and say, well, I'm really expecting to see a ghost. We were at Gettysburg, and there was a lady, it was Harry Borgen, was part of the Mark Nesmith, Nesmith that's in Gettysburg. They had the ghost hunting thing there. Mm-hmm. And he's been on the History Channel and Ghost Channel and things like that. But we had gone out and we split up into groups, and it was what was the the guy that was there.
I'm trying to remember. I can't think
It's-
of what his name is.
It was one of the charges that they were losing the battle. And the girl that was with us, her name was
Oh,
Colleen.
no, you're talking about Little Round Top.
Little
That
Round
was
Tops, yes.
Chamberlain.
Chamberlain. Right. Okay, we were sitting there, and I've got one of my recorders, and I said, "Is there anybody out there?" You know, and I said, "This is Michael, and this is Carla, and this is Colleen." Let it run for a second, play it back, and it said yes. And it said, "Well, what's your name?" It said Michael. It's okay, so not a big deal. Then I said, "Well, how many of you are there?" We play it back again. He said, "There's 4." And we go back and forth for a little while, and then all of a sudden it hit me. That wasn't Michael. It says, "What's your name?" Well, your name is Michael. My name was Michael. There were 4 of us, it and the 3 of us. It had no idea, you know, in other words, as far as it was concerned, spiritually, it was the same as us. So there were 4 of us. And all the questions was answering is like, "I'm here with you while we're doing this." And I told him, I said, "Oh my gosh, it sees us in the form it is, not us hearing and, you know, just kind of reaching out." I said, "I think we've been misunderstanding this all along. You know, we're hearing bits and pieces and we're misinterpreting what's going on too many times."
Yep.
I did a really dumb thing. I said, "Well, Chamberlain, I think you're going to lose this battle." And I kid you not, it felt like a cold gun barrel touched me on the nose. And I told them, I told Colleen and Carla, I said, "We need to leave." She said, "Why?" And I said, "I just think I ticked somebody off." And they said, "What?" I said, "I feel a gun barrel at my nose." So, but it's also being open to the fact that you can interact,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At a moment like that makes me wonder, are you interacting with the other side? Are you interacting with the fact that time isn't linear, it's all around us, and you're actually interacting with that time
That
and
that
not
yeah, that intersect in that point, because the only time that north, south, east, and west, and time and linear time is activated is with us humans.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
As a, you know, so we look at a past, present, and future in a linear time, and nothing is linear in this universe.
Right.
Nope.
In spirit world, when you're dealing with people and working with people,
Yeah.
A friend of mine, her name's Amelia Vulgar, and Cindy Dale, they're friends of mine. I've been working with them since, goodness, 2011, I think. And Amelia was going through some hard times, and she said, "Michael, I just feel worn out." And I could see her standing on her front porch, looking out over the lake. And I said, "You're looking down." I said, "But from your back, right above the kidneys," I said, "I see a dark cone shape that's coming in." And she said, "Okay." So we talked, and I said, "Don't push it out." I said, "Build the energy and let it flow out." I said, "But recognize as it goes out what you feel as it's going away." Next day she calls back and she said, "It's gone." And she said, "I feel better." I said, "Something within you were fighting." So, you know, we talked through it. I see these applications like when she taught a class Friday night. Yeah, Friday night. I could see her and I said, "I'm seeing you look out," and I see your energy go out to the lake and the moon energy come together. And I said, "Can't tell the difference from there." I said, "So you're at peace with nature?" And she said, "Yes, more to come because I'm headed to Costa Rica and I'm not going to be on the phone or anything for a whole week." So, but,
Nice.
you know, and so this is the same thing you're doing, right? When you do your readings or when you see people, and spirits go to people that are, or let's see, the energy goes to the people that are willing to allow it to appear, if that makes
Right.
sense.
It does.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. That's why I'm always surprised, and I'm not sure if surprised is even the right word, but when people say, "Oh my God, I saw a ghost. This has never happened to me before." I'm like,
No.
hmm. Wonder why it's happening now.
Nine times out of ten, because they put it out in the universe that they want to see a ghost, that they're willing and ready for that moment.
At
And
some level, yeah,
it
they put
lined
that out
up.
there. Yep.
And I'm going to throw this out because you will attract spirits at the same level that you build up the energy levels in yourself.
Mhm.
If you're
Mhm.
is in a situation where I just feel like the world's coming to an end and I don't expect anything better, that's the energy you're putting out. So that's an energy you can recognize. It's not that that's what you want. That's the ring. So
Right.
it's showing you have to make a change. When you work with people as a psychic, you don't tell people, oh, it's this, it's that. No, no, no. Work within yourself, find those areas, bring them up, release them, give yourself permission to succeed. You
Yeah.
know, but you're the only one that can do that. It's like somebody says, "Oh, help me." No, 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 no. It's not me that can help you. Where are you at? What is it that you don't have to tell me. Just move toward that and say, "Okay, I recognize this." And why do I recognize it?
Right.
And for the years, even when I was writing the book, it's like, I'm writing things that people are not going to believe because they haven't expanded their mind. Is that this is absolutely possible?
I would say most people who would pick up a book like yours probably already do believe that they can do it. They're,
Yep.
a total closed down, none of that exists person isn't going to pick up a book like this. Because
Yeah.
they probably wouldn't even see a book like that because they're just not at that vibration.
But not seeing that's to me, that's what the people like us. Now we've just moved here back to Memphis, and we were looking for some people that were doing something in these areas to reach out and become part of a let's see, I don't want to say ghost hunter because that just sounds too trivial, but
Yeah.
a
Uh,
with the others, with the spirit world, if that's, to me, that's more likely.
Hmm.
a paranormal research team is basically what you're looking for.
Yes, absolutely. And
Yeah.
seeing too many instances, oh my gosh, I got an orb. If you get an orb, you can't see. Have you a true orb? If you take a picture of a true orb, the center of the orb, it's almost like you're looking through a wormhole. It gets very bright and everything's clear all the way through it. You can see this an energy level that's far beyond that. I was looking for some of our pictures and things, but
Should have got the one from the zoo and the tigers.
I should. Yes, yes. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
It was that same
This
thing.
was in broad daylight too.
Yeah.
It was wild. The Memphis Zoo just recently, they're about 6 months old now, had a pair of tiger cubs. I think they're twins. But they had just let them come out into the enclosure. They were finally old enough. And I was trying to get a picture. Well, mom's wandering around up here looking at everybody, and the babies are in the very back. The cubs are. So all I had with me was my iPhone. So I'm trying to take a picture of the cubs, hold it up and stuff. Well, I'm looking at them later on. I said, this is the weirdest thing. Look at this picture. And right above their heads I don't know if that's what a wormhole looks like or not, but it looks like somebody has burned a hole into the picture right above their heads, two different spots.
It just took out everything, so it becomes a pathway.
Yeah, it's really weird. Forgotten anything quite like that one before.
That's cool. Animals are so
Yeah.
are pure though, like they don't have all of these weird belief systems telling them that they can't experience things or that they can't be in a certain energy, or you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I would think, I know a lot of people don't approve of zoos, but I would think that animals in a zoo probably are even more open because they don't have to be a predator or the prey.
Right.
They are.
Yeah, their survival is not based on how well they hunt or run. So,
Yeah.
I would agree. They're probably more open.
See, I could go two different ways though, because with them being in captivity and not having to run or do anything, you kind of get lazy. And when you get lazy, your vibrations go down.
Well, that's true too.
So,
Yeah.
so that could be a double-edged sword there.
So that's their form of the Game Boy and all that.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
But we had now there was in being a scientist when I'll get some of the things I had written up and send them to you, but people were saying, okay, there's this orb and it went through the wall. It's like, wait a minute, that energy is a set of particles, and when it hits the wall, it is absorbed and it goes into, and then the energy goes through, but not those sets of particles. If you filmed it on the other side, you get a different look because it'll come out with a different combination.
Mm-hmm.
And we did this. One of my buddies said, well, how come it's different? I said, because it's passed through this. I said, we're getting the energy as it's picking up and the energy levels are interacting with the molecules. I said, when it goes through a wall, I said, the energy goes through the wall, but it picks up a new set of particles that goes through. And he said, well, do you think it knows what it's doing? I said, no, it's not that it doesn't know what it's doing. I said, we don't know what we're doing. So well, it's kind of like, it's like, hey, let me teach you something. And it's like, I've been here for 100,000 years, which is maybe, 15 seconds for me. And you've been there 30 years and you think you know something. So
yeah,
who's going to learn?
A fraction of a second.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. I know that in my experience with, I don't want to say ghost hunting either because I don't like that term. I mean, I'm not out there trying to hunt a ghost, right? I'm out there trying to communicate and learn something from them. That's where I come from. I want to be able to learn something from them. And we were at a friend of mine's condo. It was a top floor, what do you call those? The big fancy ones at the top floor. And there was just this apparition, full apparition, that just walked up and hugged me. I felt it. I felt it like as if Rez hugged me because they were about the same size. Just hugged me. And I don't know if I could get anyone to understand what that feels like if they've not really understood how energy works.
Well, and I think that some of these people on TV say, oh, I just got cold and I got chills and I got this bad feeling. I got this. And it's like, I don't know what you're feeling because it's not that way.
No.
It's an interactive energy. And when was back during Christmas, one of my friends, her name's Liz Denton. She's written a book and things, basically taking economical advancements in society, like for businesses, and putting a religious spin on it. Well, she said, well, how do I know that there really are things out there? And I said, okay. She said, oh, and she said, I don't know how people heal or how they do that. I said, well, it's a thought process. And she said, but I can't do that. I said, can you remember when you were a child and it's around Christmas and you smell something baking? She said, yeah. I said, what was your favorite thing then? And she said, well, I love the cookie smell. I said, okay. Can you smell that now? She said, yeah. I said, okay. Can you taste it? She said, yeah. I said, it's not here. I said, but you brought that back. Well, but it's not really. I said, can you feel it, smell it, taste it? She said, yeah. I said, that's healing. That's how you do these things. You bring it back to a physical sense. And I said, everybody can do it. I said, but we make it so hard. It's like, I've got to be good. I've got to do this. It's like, no. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with what did I remember? How did I feel before this happened? Do I remember that? Yes. And I really think that a lot of the times that the spirit world is coming to us and saying, do you remember when this occurred? And you'll start going back to these thoughts. And someone says, I had these weird thoughts. I'm like, no, you didn't. You just had, And I really think that we want this mysterious, either really good or terrible creature out there. And it's not that way. Energy's energy. It's creation. You can find the bad in it if it's in you, but it's not the energy that's bad. It's what you're implying or applying.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, if you, what is it in Wiccan? Do what you will, but do no harm.
Mm-hmm.
And the concept is, if I do something and I send a negative energy to you, then I'm going to do some damage to you. But it takes 7 times more energy to send negativity than it does positive. Positive is an even flow. If I just say, I'll accept the energy, but I don't accept the negativity, guess where it goes back?
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
good. And when people say, oh, this is just a terrible place. No. Is it a terrible place, or is it what you've imposed on this area? See the area for what it is. It's nature. It's natural. It's occurring in the universe. I think that people are so caught up in the, the showmanship of movies that they miss the point of we're really supposed to be on a learning experience.
Right. Right. And a lot of the
Yep.
paranormal shows do that too. They're all about the scare factor and all that. And it's like, people, you went into this willingly. You're telling me that you're a paranormal investigator, and every time you see a shadow person, you're going to scream. Every time you see a
Yeah.
shadow, every time that you feel something different, you're going to scream. That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
And it just got quiet and still and cold. And it's like, okay, you found yourself in a point that you're in the now. And so now you're communicating. And what do you want to communicate with? Fear? Well, okay, if fear's what you want, if it's what you're asking for, guess what? The universe will give you what you ask for. And
Immediately.
you're building that creation. And
Yeah.
I create, and you do it every day. If you say it's going to be a terrible day tomorrow, okay, then before you get up tomorrow morning, you have already set your day in motion, because it's just awful.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you don't realize that you have to go through these things. I really believe that as we learn more and understand more about what's around us, just because it wasn't taught in college and things, I developed some systems that would basically use a high frequency and magnetic field, a 12-volt guided wave system that would break hydrates up in these huge pipes. And I had all these other PhDs that would say, Michael, that's impossible, because you know how many covalent bonds? It takes 27 joules to break a covalent bond in hydrogen. So, okay. And they said, well, we work with gases. What do you work with? I said, electrons. And they said, oh, okay, well, but it's impossible. I said, can you breathe? And they said, yeah. I said, takes more than 27 joules to break the covalent bond in oxygen and everything you're breathing in. I said, but yet when it goes through and the oxygen hits the carbon dioxide that goes out, I said that mass change and cold fusion gives you what you need and lets you expel what you want. Lungs can't do 27 joules. Well, but they didn't teach us that in college. I said, guys, you're PhDs. You're supposed to learn this. You should know this. And I told them, I said, if cold fusion didn't occur in 15 minutes, you be dead, because you have this puddle of CO2 in front of you. And I said, some of you may be brain dead, and this may be what the issue is. But but we don't think before we say, and we don't accept the fact that things are changing and can be more than what we wanted. You develop and you create what's around you, and the universe will absolutely help you. And I don't think that I don't think it's really ghost hunting. I think it's the dropping the veil that I have between myself and something else, allowing me to learn in something that's moving faster and more at a higher knowledge level than I'll ever be. But when you reach that point and you allow that to happen in your life, all of a sudden, instead of you'll start hearing these, hey, if you do this and you do this and do this, you'll start learning. And I learn things all the time. It's like, I never was taught this, but yet here it is. It's laid out. I have dreams that may go for, it starts tonight, tomorrow night goes through the same thing, and it goes through every step. how to do things. And I've told Cindy and Amelia and a lot of the other people that I work with that I teach when, from my book and things like that. I'm not capable of doing this, but I am capable of learning what's being shared with me. And I think that we're missing that application of being shared with.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you for saying that you have dreams like that you continue night after night, because I've had those my whole life, and people have been telling me it doesn't work that way.
I can go to sleep. If I wake up, I go back to sleep, go right into where I was at, and if I don't like where I'm going, I can stop, change, and say, okay, move, I know it's lucid dreaming and I've always
Mhm.
been able to do that, but I don't think it's limited to one person. I think it's that you're allowing yourself to be free in your dream.
Right.
And because in that point, you don't really have any limitations. So if you expect no limitations, then guess what? The universe will give you. Okay, here, let's download this.
Yeah.
And I shared it in one of my write-ups from a class I'm getting ready to teach. I looked up at the ceiling, and the ceiling disappeared. I'm seeing the stars and all this stuff. Then I'm seeing like these angels going back and forth. And it says it's just this easy. Everything that you see is only real because you think it's real. There's nothing to separate us, And so it went through this whole process of here's how you can become like AI. In other words, the universe is feeding and programming us. I went through this and I called Cindy and I said, okay, here's what I'm getting. Here's what's going on. And I think I can teach this because people need to know it. She said, write it up. Let's get it out there. The separation of the ghost hunting phase has nothing to do with what we should be learning. And I think it lost, I think it picked up traction when stuff like The Exorcist came out and people are like, oh, this is what I'm looking for. Be careful what you look for, because you're going to find that within you. And it's going to be the scariest thing in life because it's you that's scaring yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that are in it for the shock and awe value of it, which that's where you get the ghost hunters, where the actual ones that want to do the research and find out why, what, when, where, want answers are those that actually are the researchers, investigators.
Yeah. And too many people are like, oh, you like to ghost hunt us. Well, I don't like to ghost hunt us. I like to research what's going on. I'm looking for answers, and I know that the answers are out there, but they're not scary answers. They're mathematical. They can be reproduced. You can interact with this instead of being, oh my gosh, I ran out of here because I'm scared. And, I got a shadow on. Well, okay, well, did you go to it or did you go away from it? What did you do at that point? Your reactions show what you were expecting. And I really think that the other side's over there saying, hey, you know what? This person wants to be scared. Who wants to do this one?
Yeah, right. They're over there, taking bets on how fast they can scare you.
Yeah. So, okay, let's see. How hard will it be to, oh, this one over here. I said, watch this. Oh my gosh, a rock flew across the room. Okay. Where did it come from? Where did it go? Follow the path. It's kind of like saying, I'm going to show you a pattern. And if you run away from it, well, then what you're supposed to learn? Did fear take over?
Yeah.
Not only that, if you think about it right now, as far as we know, this is probably the closest thing we have to time travel, because we're able to communicate with people that have already lived their lives. For example, when we went to Gettysburg and we got the recording and everything, well, that was 150 plus years ago. At that time, almost 150 years ago. And so there's no way we would have had that experience, obviously. But now we have gone to places, or at least one place that I can think of that was very uncomfortable. And that was just south of
Manassas area.
No, not Manassas. Was that Ball Cemetery?
Ball Cemetery, yeah.
And oh my gosh, the whole time we were there was a minor battle this is south of DC. We lived in Springfield. I was stationed at the Pentagon. And we were out there with some friends of ours, and his stepmom and dad lived there, and we just parked and then walked across to the battlefield. And this is about 8 o'clock at night, I guess. It was already, I mean, it was pitch black out there. And it just felt like there were 1,000 eyes on us. And at any time, I just expected somebody to come out running out of those woods on horseback. And we all felt that. The hair on the back of our neck was standing up. And it wasn't like a fear so much as fear for your life that you were going to be in a battle or something. It was the oddest feeling.
Yeah, I think we were feeling what they were feeling. You know, battles were only fought during the daytime, and then at night you brought your dead in and all these things. And if you knew the next morning you're going to wake up and the people camped right across from you are going to try and kill you, the
Apprehension.
the apprehension, but the emotional impact becomes part of the trees, the plants, the flowers, the ground itself.
Mhm.
Feeling this emotional contact. Now, it wasn't like it was really scary. It's the fact that you sense what they were feeling or what the emotion was during that time.
Right.
You know, but that's not something to scare you. That's to show you that, you know, at that particular moment in time, they had a fear for their lives, and nature absorbs energy and holds it, modifies it, becomes part of everything that it is, you know. So it's a chance to sense or feel an emotional occurrence from, I guess, if you went to the right place, thousands of years ago.
Right. You described it really well. The feelings that I get, I feel what those others were feeling, because it's like you said, it becomes part of the environment. And so, you know, if I was in a situation where I was near, we live in the Great Lakes area. So being near Lake Michigan, where there was a bunch of drownings and stuff, I felt that. I felt like, you know, and I'm a physical empath, so I physically feel what people feel at that moment. And so it was like heavy on my chest, hard to breathe, trying to get air in, and even harder, push it out. You know, so all of that I was feeling that. I felt exactly what it felt like to drown, because that residual energy was there.
Yeah, and see, I didn't realize it, but when I was a kid, I couldn't be around people. I knew when someone was going to get a disease, something that was going to impact their life.
Yeah.
So I would avoid people, and my entire time through school and things up to college, until I got to college, because then there was this huge mass of people that didn't know each other and things like that. But I knew in the third grade, when this little girl walked by me, I felt she wasn't going to be there. And that afternoon, she got hit by a bus. Two buses came together. One passed, and she was crossing in front of it, and the other bus hit her. I knew those things were occurring, or I could sense somebody that had a internal illness and stuff. So I wanted to be draw back. I didn't have anybody to talk me through those things. And even now, when somebody's around and they start to talk, and I connect, I can sense and feel where their body feels turmoil. Now, that's not a spot that it's at, but that's where they've hidden that particular black bag, I guess.
Right.
You hide it in there, and you can't get to it. And I think that when you interact with a person and they find a way to allow themselves to be healed, it's like a Christian says, well, when God wants me to be healed, he'll heal me. And it's like, it doesn't say that. It says your faith made you whole. So it says, read this. So I think the same thing. And we should be learning from the aspects and not say, well, but that doesn't apply. Why? I mean, who's to say any of this doesn't apply? We're here to learn. And if we can take something away from here with us when we leave, I described it. Amelia had talked about the birth of a star. And a star is a particle that's energized by some kind of energy, such as a Big Bang, and is this bubble that goes across the universe. It seeds it, it makes it an embryo. The embryo grows and goes through each stage of life, just like we do. I'm kind of paraphrasing everything. And then as it starts to die, it implodes on itself. It leaves the husk, that initial part explodes out, and then it seeds its energy and knowledge as it goes through. Nothing in the universe is created any other way. Everything starts, stops, but it sends out its energy at the end. So it never goes away. We always were, always will be, always were, still are, and always will be.
Mhm.
So, and everybody says, oh, but when you go in, it's like, no, you don't understand this. It's, this is a never ending cycle. Creation's creation.
Right.
And
Yep.
we
Natural law.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, okay, this is what's going on. Well, but that's too easy. But that's where I think that's where we miss the boat, where we're missing the research. Well, they told us in college this. They told us wrong, because you have to use Planck theory to come up with the difference in gravitational interactions.
Mhm.
32.5%, and then I get it pretty close. There again, nature and the universe doesn't care how close you got it, because if it's not the same numeric value that it uses, we're wrong. So it's hard to
Right.
understand. It's okay. Well, then let's look at it one molecule at a time. There's 4 particles, and each one has a size, a magnetic field, energy level, and none of them rotate in the same area. Each one is a little larger, a little heavier, more dense. So if I work with 4 particles, I don't even have to put it in nanoseconds. I can use numeric values and say, here's the distance between these, here's their combinational rate. Now I'm working with 4 particles. A school kid can do this,
Right.
but that it's that simple, but it's not taught in that simplistic way. Now, is it easy? It absolutely is. It only took me 67 years to figure it out.
See, that's just a blip in time.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It's yeah.
I think that's where we're missing the aspect of when you go out and when you see something at that point has interacted with you and you've connected. And it's not to do something bad, it's something to teach you or to enhance what you've done or to allow you at this time in our space, you should know this. Let me give this to you. It's like an oracle.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I can think of, like, it's just running through my head. I can think of 50 different experiences that I've had that back up exactly what you say, but I've always explained it from a different angle.
And you see,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Everybody has to be able to explain it from their side.
Mhm.
Your perception is your reality. My
Right.
perception, I can tell you what worked for me. Take that or leave it, but find what works for you. It's like somebody says, I want to do just like you do. No, you don't understand. We're not on the same path. We're
Right.
walking together now, and we'll split and you'll do your own thing. It really got to me when the master that was teaching us, we were driving, it was a 1.5-year course and on energy work and all this stuff through Tai Chi and Reiki and Qigong. And we were driving from back to Boston once a month to do the class. And John Fritz came in there and he said, he was head of Jupiter Medical Center. He said, Michael, y'all don't have to come back anymore. I can't teach you. He said, you know more about this than I'll ever know. And it's like, no, you don't understand. I've still got 6 months. No, you don't. And I'm thinking, well, what did I do wrong? Because I'm still learning. He said, you're not learning. He said, you're so far ahead of everybody that you come back, hang around with us, and you go, you're way up here. And I said, okay, so what's wrong with that? He said, I don't even know how to teach at that level. He said, so, you know, you're graduated. I said, oh, okay. So, but that was hard because, see, I didn't want that responsibility yet.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave it to me. So now I became responsible for what I already knew. And I think that at that point, even in the book, I said, you know, at that particular point, I realized I was responsible, and everything that I did, as long as it was him there, I could say, well, you know, you did this or you showed me this, instead of, I understand it's mine and I need to work with it.
Right.
But it would have been easier now with me being as logical as I am. It would have been easier for him to tell me that. But he's one of these more like existential type things, and said, you know, you'll get it on your own here before long, and things. So, and an engineer, you just tell me the math, I'm good. And so I think all these things that throughout my life, and I know since you both have a Native American background, you understand the spirit animals, and that it's not the animal, but it's the force within them, how they react within their own culture.
Mm-hmm.
Each culture. So my great grandmother had a fit. Snowy owl is my lead totem, and she took me to other medicine men, and it's like they said, we can't, you know, it's not going to change.
Right.
You know, if you're that. And finally, we were sitting here, and I had gone out, and this guy had a wolf pup tied to the bumper of his truck. And I went out and I sat down, and it came up, crawled up in my lap, and I petted him. My grandmother and the guy came out, and he looked at me and he said, oh my gosh. She said, Michael, put that down. And he said, no, 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 you don't understand. I have to drag it out from under the truck, put on leather gloves, and hold it and force it to allow me to calm down. So it'll calm down, and force it to allow me to hold it. So I put it down. He said, go back and sit down. I sat down, came back, got on my lap. We're sitting there having a great time. He said, no, no, no. He said, he's here to see through the darkness, see the things that other people can't see. You're not going to take that away. Cougars on my left side, wolves on my right, and buffaloes at my back. I can be one or the other, but I can't be all of them at the same time. So
Right.
really unique interaction part. And I think that depending on where you're at, whether you believe in the totems or not, you can sense those things within you that can come to be, because you're never just one thing, you know.
Right.
And if you pigeonhole yourself into just one application, you're missing so much life. And I really think that that's kind of what we're supposed to be learning from the other side.
Yeah,
100%.
you got to keep that open mind and that willingness to keep on evolving in this world. Otherwise, like you said, you get stuck, you get pigeonholed.
Yeah, and I mean, have over the years that you've been doing this, have you seen a difference in yourself and others as you start learning? I mean, you know,
Yeah, I have.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so. You know, I grew up in a spiritualist church, so I grew up around psychic mediums, giving, you know, seeing readings done in the purest form. And then also I grew up with some of my relatives up on the reservation who taught me their side of things. So as I've gone, I've always meshed the two worlds. And I've noticed a change in my entire life, you know, different things. And then to eventually step out and join an actual team for research, I've watched my whole world flip upside down and become the world that I want. And then every day it's constantly changing and growing forward because of what I put out into the universe.
yeah, and I mean, I'm you know my age, but anyway, Billy Jack, you know, the Vision Quest,
Yeah.
and he said, I'm walking in two worlds. And the old man said, on this Vision Quest, you're not walking in two worlds, you're walking in one world, and that's your creation.
Yep.
And get it until after the snake bit him, and you know, all this. So I think it's the same thing. People want to walk in one world or another, and not realize that there's really not one world or another. It's everything.
It's
Everything.
all one world. Yep.
I don't want to get bit
Yeah.
by, but I do have the hat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of the stuff you're talking about is stuff that you learn over the years if you're open minded. I learned a lot of it from like the book called The Secret, which it takes away from quantum physics, it takes away from religion, and it takes away from the fact of like attracts like, which is basically what it boils down to. And what you put out there is what's going to come back to you in the long run.
Right.
And to hear someone, as smart as you are and with the degrees and everything that you have to come back and basically repeat that same message on a different level, I've been enjoying this very much so.
Well, I love it, but people will say, you got all these degrees. And I said, they're about the size of a placemat. And if you put them on the table, that's about all they're worth if you don't really use them.
Yep.
That's true.
Trouble in martial arts when we went to Maine, I'm a 6th-degree black belt, and I wear just sweats and all this stuff. And the teacher there said, why don't you ever wear your belt? I said, it doesn't mean anything. And he said, I had to work at this. He said, I just barely got through high school. And this means something to me. I said, I've got 9 degrees at that time I had. I said, I can't wear those around my neck. I can either do it or I can't. I said, martial arts, I can either do it or I can't. The belt means nothing. And about 2 years into this, we were working out, and you take like dowel rods and you try and hit each other. One's defending, one's attacking.
Mm-hmm.
He attacked me first and then everything, and then all of a sudden we start doing it, and I start to come down on his head. And instead of him raising up to block with his dowel rod, he just dropped it. And John Fritz came over. This was our teacher. He said, Dick, what's going on? He said, if you were with somebody else, Michael's got the control to do it. If you were with somebody else, they would have killed you. He said, no, you don't understand. This doesn't matter. And he started laughing. And then now Dick Roy would never have done this at that time. He came over and he said, I get it. And John said, it only took you 2 years to understand that it didn't matter. But we became the antithesis of each other because John Fritz would say it's this, and well, the physics of the human body in this particular form means I can do this. I wanted to do that. Dick would say, you said it'll work, I'm going to do it. But we became, we were like brothers. We knew what each other were going to do. And he said, I don't understand this. He said, you guys have become part of each other's walk. And that came back to me of we crossed each other's paths. And at that moment, we were on the same road, 2 different worlds, but on the same road in that one path. And I think that until people realize that or get to feel that, they'll never understand what's really happening around them. And that's why I say, as you're researching and understanding what's going on around you, then you're learning. If you're afraid to do that, then you're going to be afraid of everything.
Exactly.
There's nothing fear.
Yeah, I live my life nothing to fear but fear itself.
Absolutely. And it's safer to go toward what you fear than it is to run away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Especially here in Memphis, because there's usually a gun on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're running from your fears, you're giving power to it. So therefore, it's going to keep taking that stance.
Absolutely. And that's the whole thing. I think that people should understand when you say, well, I'm researching the not just the spirit world, but the psychic world, the interaction between people. And everybody says, well, but special people can do what Christina does, right?
Yep. You know
No.
what? That's not true. I wrote a whole book about how that's not true.
And people will say, but yeah, there's something about you that's different. It's like, no, you don't understand. It's inside you until you let it out.
Right.
Yep,
The only
it's
thing that's
inside all of
different
us.
about me compared to somebody else or them compared to me is what we are willing to do with what we have.
Right.
That's it. That's the only difference.
And that's the very thing that, when people say, well, why are you interested in the spirit world? It's like, you don't understand. We live in it already. I need to learn from it. Because there's a reason that there is this interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And if I come into the world and I do nothing with it and I leave this world, I came in and left in the same shape.
Exactly. And what's the point in that?
Mm-hmm. Well, because this is my last time here. We had our Akashic records done, and I had programmed in 157 outs. It took her 2.5 months to do my Akashic records. She said, I'd get it done. And then all of a sudden it's like, you looped back here to get an out, you know? And she said, you came here to teach a certain thing. And then when you get to that point, it's like, okay, I'm done. I want to go do something else.
Mm-hmm.
But people say, well, what's the Akashic records? It's your past. You're tied into your bloodline, and your DNA is from thousands of people. And you say, well, I wonder why I did that. It's part of your DNA. It's part of past history that comes up, and you'll learn from it. You're learning, or you're just accepting what's going on and merrily going your way.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. It was interesting you brought up your spirit animal being the snowy owl. Mine is a skunk. My main one is a skunk.
Inquisitive and will not let go. And
Well, it's not that I actually heard a different version of that. Inquisitive,
Okay.
yes. People don't mess with skunks. Nobody messes with me ever. Like, ever.
I've been giving you shit for years now, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Whatever.
He goes, people now, and I'm going to say this. People say, "Oh, skunk smells." It doesn't bother me. Nothing about it. It bothers
Doesn't
me.
bother me either.
No.
And one of my college professors said, "If you learn nothing else in my class, I'm going to give you some advice." He said, "Never get in." He said, "Don't piss somebody off that you're working with today, because you may be working with them tomorrow, and never get in a pissing contest with a skunk." And he says, "If you remember those two things, you're good."
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
But a skunk will find any and everything. And I mean, I had skunks when I had pets of every kind. It didn't matter what kind it was. I've got pictures of me feeding 10-point deers. Like sun goes down, and I told my buddy, I said, "What's this?" So I went out, I took a handful of corn, and I walked over and I told him, I said, "This is stupid." And I said, "Get pictures." I said, "But this is the dumbest thing." And he said, "What?" I said, "This thing's got 10 points." I said, "He could kill me, but he's eating out of my hand." And I go back and I get another one. He said, "Can I feed him?" I said, "Come over here, slowly." And I said, "You can't get within my range." And so he started feeding him. And he said, "Oh, this is amazing." I said, No, this is stupid." I said, "You understand, this is very stupid." But the animal didn't. I've had animals come out and eat out of my hand,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, he said, "Why?" I said, "It's, as a Native American, if I'm going out, if an animal presents itself, because I grew up hunting. If you didn't hunt, I mean, we were poor. If you didn't hunt, you didn't eat. If you,
Yep.
I mean, absolutely." And I've had animals just walk up. I've had wolves come up and lay out where I was at. My dad's dad would say, "One of these days, I'm gonna come out here and someone's gonna tear you apart." Now, and you'll know what I'm saying. They would come and they'd lay facing with their back toward me and look over their back toward me to watch me.
Yep.
And I'll say, "Why?" I said, "If he ever comes and lays toward me," I said, I'm prey." I said, "But he's giving me leeway, because I've got a gun across my lap." I said, "But this is a mutual agreement that we're in communion." Now, to try and explain that to people, it's like, "Well, I just shoot it." And it's like, that's why animals don't come to you. You don't just do this. If you're not gonna eat it, don't do it. I mean,
Right.
don't.
Exactly.
And animals understand it. They understand the give and take and circle of life. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's no monkey holding the little animal up, but that's the same thing. They understand more than we understand in the spirit world. They see things that we don't see.
Yep.
They absolutely do.
It's my belief, like in your circumstances here, is that the vibrations that you're giving off them animals feel comfortable and they know that they're safe around you. So that's why they come to you. You know, I've had similar stuff throughout the years myself. Never a wolf, which I wish, you know, but you know, even like how you're explaining how the wolf would come and lay by you. That's where my pit bulls lay. And the way I look at it is, yeah, they're watching you, but they're also watching out for you. They're
Yeah.
being a protector at that point in time by facing away from you. So if anything came to do you harm, they're going to be the first ones to bounce up and protect you.
Oh, I remember, and Christina, I don't know how your memory goes, but I remember being born. I remember the nurses rocking me.
Mhm.
I'll tell my mom all the things that happened. And she'll say, but you can't remember. Yes, I do. And
I do
thunder,
too. Yeah, I
yeah,
remember
thunder.
things way back. Yeah.
And I was lay in the bed. And if I whimpered, we had a German Shepherd. And his name was Mickey. He'd come up and he'd put his nose in and he'd put it on my shoulder. And he stayed there. And he hated the thunder and lightning too, but he was there for me. You know, I'd tell mom this, this, go through everything. And she'd say, but you can't remember that. It's like, yeah, I remember all of this. This is, well, that's impossible. No. And there's a reason. I think I got to come in this world and I believe that for some reason I didn't have to forget like everybody else does.
Right.
I think I'm allowed to keep a lot of the memories.
Yeah, I have a lot of memories from when I was very young. Absolutely. From the day I was born, I remember that. I remember some of the things. We lived with my maternal grandparents when I was very little. And yeah, I remember that. I remember different people picking me up, moving me, you know. And I was a preemie. So like I fit in my grandfather's one hand. Like
Oh my.
there's a picture of that where he's holding me in one hand. And he was afraid to break me. So that's all he would do, like one hand holding, and you could tell he was nervous about it, you know. But I do remember that. I remember all of that. Yeah.
And I think that I know people are going to be on there. It's like, well, where was the ghost hunting on this? Well, this is actually a precursor to let people realize that within themselves, what they're hunting for is usually within them,
Mhm.
and people willing to say, "This is how I got to this point," so that people don't have to feel like, "Well, what is it? What are the steps?" And it's know yourself, know your surroundings, know what you want to know. The universe will tell you what you want to know. It will share with you easily, and you just have to be a conduit.
Yep,
Recognize,
absolutely.
Yep.
and that's why that we see so many things with the spirit world, because we want to pass through, but I don't want to hold it in. I want to be able to share it. I want to say, hey, here's how I got there. Math background, that's okay. Some people say I hate math. You use it every day, but that's okay. This is how I got there. What makes you feel comfortable? That comfort level is your zone, and your zone is where you'll start to interact. Then your
Mhm.
zone gets wider, broader, and the more it gets within this range, like a DNA, because it's spinning, everything around you is this DNA sequence, and everything that you touch on, it becomes part of your DNA sequence. We're starting to learn, grow, and then when we leave this place, then not only can we share from the other side, but we can seed other uh, embryos as we
Yeah,
pass through it.
absolutely. Absolutely. I want
Yeah.
to thank you both so much for coming and sharing your experience, your wisdom, your knowledge with us, because you have explained things from a very different angle than I normally explain things. I totally understood what you said, but I don't normally explain it that way. So it was really interesting to hear you say it, and refreshing actually to hear you explain it from that way, because I have had students who say things like, well, I'm into math, explain it to me that way. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to refer them to you and to this recording and say, there you go. There it is, explained the way you want to hear it. But it is really all the same thing. It is all the
Yeah.
same thing. Energy is energy, no matter how you explain it.
And you can't,
Yeah.
I can use math, but if you don't believe the math, that's okay.
Mhm.
As long as it does what you want it to do.
Exactly.
You're creating this.
Mhm.
You know, the disciples were very, very, marginally trained. But they'd say, well, how do you do this? You do this in my name and just go do it. And it's going to be done. Now, once they went and did it, and they came back and said, hey, you know what? All this stuff worked. And then then go out and do this. You can do this and more.
Mhm.
And everybody from that point on stopped and said, well, they did it. Well, we should still do it. We should stand. We should become part of. That's a promise of here's how creation works. Go
Mhm.
do it. You know,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly. So
and
once again, the name of your book is
the God algorithm.
The God Algorithm. Awesome. So everybody look that up. Is that available online somewhere?
It's available on Amazon. It's Dr. C. Michael Scroggins.
Awesome. Awesome.
Here's
Just
my
like it
question.
says.
Okay.
How do I get an autographed copy of it?
You send me your address.
All right.
I'll make it easy. How's that? And
Excellent.
and if you hear from anybody around this area that wants to play and stuff, because there's so much in this area that
Mm.
Memphis almost was wiped out by yellow fever and things like that. So it was going to be the capital of the state, and it lost its charter. But there's so many negative things here that people are looking at as negative, and it was a
Mhm.
learning.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of research that could be done here to turn this around to what it really should be done, what really should be happening. And Rez, I really
Excellent.
thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Well,
I think we're friends
well,
on Facebook anyway, so
We
yep,
are.
yep. So make sure you keep in touch.
I will.
They're hearing everyone out there that's listening to our show. These people are looking for a team to join up with. Someone who wants to actually do research, not ghost hunt, but actual paranormal research. So reach out to them, give them a shot. We all deserve to have a team to work with, and you're a very brilliant man, so you'd be an asset to anyone's team.
You don't, but you can't ask Carla about that brilliant thing. I don't
No,
think I
she's got to keep you in check.
We know, don't we,
Yeah.
Carla? We know.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you again. Thank you so much for joining us. And everyone, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. Let's get our numbers up because we really want to start doing some lives here.
Yep. You know what? You forgot to promote something that you got coming down the chain, my dear.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I have a new podcast or a new YouTube channel. Sorry. New
Okay.
YouTube channel. Tomorrow morning. It's called Breakfast with Bobby. And
Not me. Nope.
I have two co-hosts, both named Bobby. The other one is a woman, and we've been good friends for a long time. And we've been having breakfast together about once a month for a long time. And so we decided to turn our breakfast talks into a podcast. So we talk there is nothing off limits. Like we talk about everything from gardening to healing trauma to I don't know. We recorded 4 shows and there's probably 20 topics covered in those 4 shows already. But we launch tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central. So I wanted, thank you because
Yeah,
I'd forgotten.
because I'm a contract engineer, and I just went back to work for Carrier to help them redo some new Freon that they're doing. So I'll be at work, but if I can slip away in my office, I'll go in there and watch. Or
Yeah,
I'll
or you
watch
can watch it on replay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can watch it on replay.
Well, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
definitely.
Thank you.
Can you
Thank you
behave?
for coming on.
She has to keep you in line.
That's what
Yeah,
partners are for, She when I'm out in public and doing the paranormal conventions and all that, and she's there. She keeps me in line. When I'm at home, the wife keeps me in line. So I don't
See.
get to have no fun.
Yeah, I get to tag
Yep.
team with his wife, so it's all
there
good.
you go.
Yeah.
Well, it's great talking to you guys.
Yeah, you too. Let's do this again sometime.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
All right. Take it easy, y'all.